Hello and welcome to the Film Pulse podcast. This is episode number 492. My name's Adam Patterson. With me today, we've got Kevin Rakestraw. Hey, Kevin.
Hi.
This week on the show, we'll be taking a look at Saw 10, which is out now on VOD platforms. We'll also be going over some of what we've been watching on the watch list and new releases in theaters, VOD, and Blu-ray. Thank you so much for joining us this week. The new Saved by the 90s should be dropping very soon. The edit is done, so it should be coming out this week. As I mentioned previously, the theme for this month is made-for-TV horror movies, and we had a blast. We had an absolute blast. One of the movies that we discussed is Alien Autopsy, Fact or Fiction. Do you remember how huge the whole Alien Autopsy thing was back then when we were kids?
Of course.
I mean, it was like a phenomenon. And we get into that.
Is it fact or fiction? Is it fact?
No, it is not fact. I'm sorry to say, it is not fact.
Come on.
But if you do want to watch it, that's on Tubi.
In fact, of course it is.
Yeah, most of the movies that we watched for this month, Saved by the 90s, are on Tubi. So yeah,
I would imagine that Tubi's library, that movie it had to be like one of the first 7 movies in that library. Had to be.
I feel like you're right on that. Like
it was there at the ground floor.
Definitely seems like it would be one. So stay tuned for that. Let's go ahead and get into our review. We're talking about Saw 10. This is directed by Kevin Greutert. I have a synopsis here. A sick and desperate John travels to Mexico for a risky and experimental medical procedure in hopes of a miracle cure for his cancer, only to discover the entire operation is a scam to defraud the most vulnerable. I feel like that gives a little bit too much away about the setup of this movie.
That gives everything away. Because there's not much going on in this movie.
I don't understand why. I feel like that's like a huge... They shouldn't have done that, I don't think. Anyway, the interesting thing about talking about this movie is that you saw the first Saw, right?
No, I haven't seen any Saw.
Oh, you didn't see any of the Saw movies?
None of them.
So this is a really interesting one to come into the series on.
I'm coming in at 10.
You're coming in at the 10th one, yeah.
This is 10.
Well, the interesting thing, though, is that if you're looking at the chronology, like if you're looking at the timeline, this is actually towards the beginning. So this is this is like
the new number 2 or like a 1.5.
Yeah,
right?
Basically. So like technically the movie Jigsaw, which came out in 2017, that happened before the first Saw. So it'd be So it'd be like Jigsaw, then Saw 10, then Saw 2.
Okay. Gotcha. So this is like 2 or 2.5.
Yeah. So
3.
Yeah, 3 sort of, I guess.
Whatever. Doesn't matter.
Either way, it's interesting that you're coming into the franchise.
Is it?
With this one? I think it's interesting because most people, I think, saw at least a few of them before. Okay. Yeah, at least the first one.
Not interesting to me.
Okay. Well, I don't know. It's a very popular horror franchise that's been around for 20 years. So
I will say this, right? Because coming in, you know me. Like, I have not had any interest in Saw, like, from the outset. I was just like, that is not my thing.
That is not your thing.
Yeah, there's certain movies that I look up, I read the synopsis or whatever. Maybe I see some stills or like a trailer or something. I'm just like, nah, that's not my type of thing. I don't like that. So this, like, going in, I was trying to have an open mind, right? Where I was like, well, maybe, I'm a different person than I was. What'd you say? The first one came out 20 years ago?
Yep, 2004.
That's insane.
Yeah, I remember. I remember it was really hard to find it, and I watched a bootleg of it in my dad's basement. I somehow procured a bootleg of it.
Man, That's how they want you to see Saw, bootleg in your dad's basement.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I made the right choice of never watching these things. 20 years. I made it 20 years, and then it's been sullied.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of, well, it was definitely my fault. I was the one that pushed for this one, because this one is probably, well, it is the highest reviewed Saw movie in the whole franchise. They all have very low scores on Rotten Tomatoes and other, other review aggregates. Even the first one, even the 2004 one, it only has a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. But this one has a 79%. And so and looking at what the critics were saying on Rotten Tomatoes, coupled with what people were saying on Letterboxd, I thought, hey, you know what? It might be cool to cover this, and I figured it was a good opportunity to bamboozle you into seeing one of these Saw movies. So I take it you weren't into the Saw 10, huh?
Well, I gotta say, like at first, again, I went into this open mind, right? Which I got tested pretty early on because it's, the Jigsaw guy or whatever. He has cancer. So this is like a cancer movie. Like trying to humanize this guy, make us like, it's like a drama. And I'm just like rolling my eyes, like, give me a fucking break. Like, I don't give a shit about this guy having cancer. Like, he can go fuck himself.
Well,
like, he could die right now. I wish his brain would explode, but that's not going to happen.
So let me just pause you there. So that's like an ongoing thing with the whole franchise, is that he knows he has cancer. He's seeking treatment, and it gets very convoluted, like the whole cancer story.
Oh, I'm sure.
The interesting thing about this one is that there is a 30-minute build-up to where, the real like traps start to happen, or the game, I guess, begins, which is really interesting because none of the other Saw movies are even come close to attempting something like that. So
yeah,
I thought that right off the bat, okay, this one is definitely different than the others.
Yeah, but at the same time, you're like, what are we doing? What are we doing? You're the Saw franchise. Like, come on, like it felt like
stay in your lane.
It felt like a fucking Lifetime like cancer drama. It's like, oh, he's got the brain cancer. I'm like, I don't fucking care. And then they do the first like quote unquote trap, like the dream trap, where he's like, I guess, fantasizing about doing a thing, which right off the bat just turn the dial to 5, like they're your fingers. Come on.
That's what I was thinking. Like, yeah,
straight, just get it over with. The pain will probably just knock you right out, and you'll be fine.
That's what I was thinking. Like, so, I guess maybe these are like minor spoilers for the actual traps. I feel like it's impossible not to talk about this movie and not talk about the traps. So the first trap, this guy is strapped to a chair. He has these tubes attached to his face on his eyes, and you find out that they're like basically like vacuum cleaner, like shop vac tubes, and he has these like this contraption attached to his hand where with his other hand he can turn a dial from 0 to 5, and it breaks each of his fingers one by one. And he has to do it within, by the time the time runs out, or else the shop vacs turn on and suck out his eyes. And like you said, my first instinct was just crank it to 5, because to me it seems like the amount
Go straight to it.
Like the amount of pain I feel like is going to be the same for each finger, right? So you just crank it to 5. You do it all at once. The pain isn't multiplied. It's the same amount of pain. Just do it,
exactly, because they're going to kind of like nullify each other. And the other thing, you're going for 2 possible outcomes, I'm thinking, right? One is you're getting all that pain at once and it just knocks you out, like you just pass out from it, and then you get your fingers fixed and you like a couple months back in business,
right?
Like nothing ever happened. 2, there's a lot of delicate wires and shit. If you just crank that bad boy, there's a good chance that you just fuck that contraction up.
Could be.
You just get jammed up.
Could be. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a very like intricate machine too, and I think that there would be possibility of a malfunction of some sort.
Yeah. And this is what I'll say, because up until this point, I'm rolling my eyes at this movie because I'm just like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? Finally get to a trap thing, and I gotta say, the way in which that whole sequence is shot and edited is just like one of the ugliest scenes in a long time. Just fucking visual garbage.
It's
and I was just like, oh god, this is gonna be rough.
It's sort of a trademark for the franchise, the way that it's shot, where they do like the suit like kind of fast forward and then like spinning around the trap and stuff like that's very typical of the franchise.
It's like what it reminded me of visually, like cinematically, like the cinematography. It's like it took its cue, like its main inspiration is you wouldn't download a car PSA.
Yeah,
it's that style.
It feels it feels very 90s to me for some reason, like or early. Or I mean, I guess it makes sense that it would be early 2000s because the first Saw movie came out in the early 2000s. But it definitely feels extremely dated. But they all the movies do it. It is definitely one of the hallmarks of the franchise. I agree. It is very ugly, but at the same time, I embrace that. Like I come to expect that. So I was okay with that. I guess it's different if you were already like a fan of the franchise.
And I think that's the thing is that, like in your situation from 2004, that bootleg in your dad's basement, and anyone else that's a fan of Saw, it's like a frog in hot water situation. Like it's just been with you the entire time. But if you're someone like me coming in at the 10th installment, you're just like, what the fuck is this? It's 2023. Why does it look like shit?
Yeah, that's why I was curious to hear someone coming into the franchise here with this one. In a lot of ways, this one is sort of a back to basics. The franchise over the years, with every sequel, you have to try to outdo the previous one, right? And by Saw 9, it's like, what are they gonna do here? And like as the series went on, it became progressively more convoluted and intricate, and like like the people were like, I mean, it wasn't like just single traps, it was like an entire house or like an entire warehouse full of traps that they have to get through multiple traps and stuff like that. And everything got like just way like overly complicated, like crazy Rube Goldberg machines all over the place, and like the plot, the overall narrative of the series got super complicated too, because there'd be like flashbacks and like all of a sudden like this person's working with Jigsaw, and like they would just kind of write themselves into corners and then have to sort of get themselves out of that by introducing some character who was like with him from the very beginning, but we just never saw that character, So there's some definitely creative writing going on with regards to the narrative. And with Saw 10, I think like they stripped a lot of that away.
They ever go to space?
No. There was a 3D one. That was the closest. The closest one was the 3D one. Truthfully, like I didn't mind any of the Saw movies. I thought that they were all fine. I did not like Spiral, which was the sort of spin-off one, the one with the Chris Rock one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I did not like that one. And Jigsaw, which was the last like kind of mainline one I thought was really bad. I thought that was pretty shitty. But Saw 10, I will say, in my opinion, it is probably the second. It's the best of the sequels, I think. It's
Okay.
I think the original Saw is still better than this, but I actually enjoyed Saw 10 for what it was. I liked the kind of back to basics story here, where, you know, after, considering that synopsis basically gives away, you know, the whole setup, after Jigsaw discovers this fraud that took place, basically everybody involved, he targets them, so they're all involved in the traps. And the traps, I think, in this one were pretty interesting. They weren't like super, like in some of them, some of the sequels, the traps are so over the top and ridiculous. This one is a little bit more grounded, but still pretty wild traps. The first one, the first one of the real traps with the wire, that one just made my skin crawl, man. With the leg. Oh my God.
Oh, that one. I thought you were talking about the pipe bomb one.
Oh, the pipe bomb. Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot about the pipe bomb one.
Yeah,
that one too.
That one was. Yeah, there's certain things like the pipe bomb thing.
Yeah,
I'd wake up from that and see the pipe bombs and stuff and just be like, all right, I'm done.
Just let it. I'm just gonna give up at this point.
Like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm not doing this.
It is interesting, like, because I guess most of the people who Jigsaw targets are like they're usually pretty awful people, you know, for one reason or another. They're usually pretty narcissistic, selfish, etc. And so I guess that's maybe one of the reasons it never happened, but I am kind of surprised that in all of Jigsaw's victims, there wasn't somebody who's just like looking at the challenge and be like, nope, sorry, and then just like figuring out a way to immediately kill themselves.
Yeah, that's what I would have done. Yeah, because there's and I don't know what because again, this is the only one that I've seen, so I'm not sure like what his thinking. Like, obviously, he has an extraordinary amount of time for someone with brain cancer. Like, he just has so much time to create these elaborate things.
Yeah, he's always thinking it up, man.
But I mean, just the logistics of it alone, like the whole pipe bomb thing, it had to take the better part of an entire day, probably 2 days.
Yeah, well, like, you see him working in his little book, writing up schematics and stuff. Like that.
True.
They do say he is an engineer, and so like that's kind of his background. So he knows how to build contraptions and stuff. Yeah. And like, he dedicates his life to it. You know, like this is his full-time job.
Well, that's the thing that I'm trying to figure out. Is it seems like some people get, and I guess it's kind of based on like how bad they are as a person. Because some of the traps, I'm like, yeah, I'd give that a shot. But then like the pipe bomb one, I'm like, no, I wouldn't do anything. I'd probably just go straight for my jugular, just get it over with. Like, sucker, you gave me 2 knives.
Yeah,
I'm out. I'm not doing a pipe bomb thing. And then there's the other one with the rope saw type thing, the giggly saw or whatever. I'm not doing that.
That one was
just going to sit and wait, and like, it's going to be a clean cut. I'll be over. It's done.
Not only, well, first of all, I somewhat agree with you, but the thing is, like, it didn't move fast. You know, it'd be one thing if like, time runs out and then the blade, you know, just cut your head off. Yeah. But it was pretty slow. Like that blade was moving through her neck pretty slow. But also,
which is fine though, because you know it's going to be over at some point, and then you're never going to feel it again because you're in the ether now. The worst part would be like it stopping like halfway through, and now you have like damaged vocal cords or something. That would be worst case scenario.
The thing that made that one, like, first of all, just the you know, it reminded me of Audition with the sawing of the foot.
God damn.
Like where it wasn't like towards the bottom of her leg. I mean, it was the thigh. You know, it was the meat. It was the meat.
Yeah,
And not only that, but she had to suck the marrow out of her bones afterwards. So it wasn't just cutting her own, because that was the whole thing in the first Saw movie. That's why the movie's called Saw, because the person had to, Carrie Elway's character had to saw his foot off. And it's like, okay, this unfortunate woman, not only does she have to saw her entire leg off at the thigh, but then she has to jam a contraption in to suck the marrow out of her bones.
No thanks.
One of the things that always happens in these movies with the traps is that almost every single one of them will try to do whatever is needed, but not do it in time. And then you get to see, so it's like the best of both worlds, where you see them torturing themselves and then you also see the aftermath. It happens to almost every single person in every single movie.
Yeah, I think, and that's what I'm saying is, I think I would wake up, I would do that mental calculus and just be like, yeah, it's not worth it. Not gonna happen. Like, I'm not gonna be able to do it in time.
So you had especially like you would just try to quickly figure it out. Like, it's a pretty short, time that you have to work on something like that. Like, he doesn't give you a lot of time. Like, it's doable. Like, he makes sure that all the traps you can technically survive, but I mean, that's the whole thing. What's her name? Shawnee Smith, is that her name? Shawnee Smith's character, she's from the original Saw, the bear trap, the famous the reverse bear trap. That was her character. So like,
and she just decided to link up. She's like, yeah, let me help you do stuff.
Yeah. So basically she survives her game and then like becomes his sort of disciple. So because he knows he's dying and everything, he enlists someone to carry on his work. And also there's he's talking to a police detective multiple times in the movie, and you don't see that person, but that's another person from the franchise who you think is someone going after Jigsaw, but turns out he's working with him the whole time.
Craziness.
Yeah, lots of twists and turns with these movies. That's kind of one of the things I usually like about them, is that there's always a giant twist at the end of each one of them. I liked the twist in this one, even though, I mean, this one was pretty risky for Jigsaw to make sure that things ended up the way they did. He took a lot of risks with this one, but I still liked the twist. I thought it was pretty fun because up until that point, I was like, man, he's like rough around the edges with this one. Like, normally it's like way cleaner, and he like considers all outcomes and stuff. And I feel like he's a little sloppier with this one, but nah, it's all part of the plan.
No, I will say, because I think we're going a little bit long on this. I don't want to, because honestly, I didn't like this. I hated it. One of the worst movies I ever watched in my life. I just absolutely hate it. There was at a certain point, it became a comedy when he was doing the blood boarding. I don't know about you, but was that scene like 15 minutes long? It was just like nonstop him gurgling.
Yeah,
and I was just like, they're just gonna keep going forever. Like, this is just forever.
It felt like they were just like literally torturing Tobin Bell in real life at that point.
like, is this the rest of the movie from here on out? And it's just, I don't know, the sound effect of him like choking and gurgling and stuff. Like, I just started, I fucking lost it after like minute 2.
All right, so let's go.
17.
Let's just get your score. What are you gonna give Saw 10?
0.
That's insane. Come on. You've seen much worse. We've reviewed much worse movies on this show.
I guess. Okay. 1.
Okay.
That's a 1.
That's better. I'm giving it like a 6. I had a good time with it. I thought it was probably one of the best Saw movies. So yeah, I was entertaining. None of the Saw movies are particularly like well acted or anything like that. So I had very tempered, grounded expectations going into it. So
yeah, I didn't think like any of the acting was bad or anything. I just thought like
yeah,
visually it looked like fucking garbage. It's garbage.
Yeah, doesn't look great. All right, let's move on and talk about some of what we've been watching. I saw probably the worst movie. This is way worse than Saw 10, and I bet if you watched it, which I implore you not to, you would agree, and that's Expendables 4.
Oh boy.
This is the only non-horror movie I'm gonna even mention this week, but I had to because it's so bad. This is directed by Scott Waugh. Looks like he did Act of Valor and Need for Speed, which I didn't see either of those, but I mean they both look like kind of garbage too. This movie is absolutely atrocious. I didn't mind the first two Expendables movies. I really didn't like the third one. And this one is like not even on the same spectrum as those other ones. It is so cheap looking. This movie looks like it was all done on a green screen. Like they were in a sound stage and everything was just green screen. It looks so awful. Like everything is CG. Everything. Like things that don't need to be CG or CG. I'm not talking about like action scenes or explosions or anything like that. I'm saying like backgrounds, sets, like different objects, cars, like everything is CG. and like it's so atrocious. The action is pretty generic. Like there's a couple scenes that are fun, but the fact that they look so goddamn fake, it completely negates any kind of like thrilling moments that you might have. Jason Statham is probably the only thing that's like halfway decent in this movie. Everybody else's performance is pretty piss poor. I will say that Randy Couture, he's given a lot more to do in this one, and he's pretty good in it, I will say, which is kind of surprising. Iko Uwais is in it. He plays the bad guy. Wish he played the good guy, but even he doesn't really have much to do. 50 Cent's in it. He's not horrible. Megan Fox is horrible in it. Dolph Lundgren is pretty bad. Stallone is not good. It is an absolute train wreck. This needs to be the last of these movies. It is garbage. Absolute garbage.
Yeah. And how do you pronounce that? Would you say Expendables?
Expendables. Yeah, Expendables. Or no, yeah, Expendables. Yeah.
What? just throw a 4 in there somewhere. Why not? The fuck? Fucking stupid.
Yeah.
I watched The Boogeyman from Rob Savage. Boogeyman from this year. The Stephen King. This is on Hulu. I was mildly, yeah, exactly. I was mildly excited for this. You know, a new Stephen King adaptation that, judging by the trailer, it didn't look that bad. It actually looked somewhat promising.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, it's not that bad. It's meh. Like it's fine. The only thing that really kind of hurt it for me is this is based on a Stephen King short story, I think from like the 70s, and it's really, really, really familiar to the TV series The Outsider, which I just happened to watch this year. Like I just finished it like a couple months ago, right? Like the same kind of mechanics and everything, except The Outsider is like a more developed, like there's more complexity to it. Like the Boogeyman character like has a deeper history, a richer history, and like backstory, and like everything about it is just far more complex. Where here it just feels like this was like the first draft of The Outsider. Like this was a Stephen King idea in the 70s that he revisited with The Outsider and just made it exponentially better.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, literally the whole time, I'm just like, yeah, I just watch The Outsider.
Yeah,
Like, The Outsider's better.
I loved The Outsider,
Yeah,
and
this
this.
is it's fine.
Yeah, I didn't talk about this on the show, but I saw this also, and I'm kind of there with you. I thought it was mad. I didn't think it was that bad, but nothing
Yeah, like
nothing.
I didn't hate it or anything. It just seemed like it just wasn't interesting enough story wise.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you on that. That's the Boogeyman from earlier this year. It's available on Hulu. I saw one that's pretty damn good, and that's called Mute Witness from 1995. This is directed by Anthony Waller. This is about a woman who is she's like a makeup artist for a film production that's happening over in Russia, and she is she's mute. She can't talk. She can see, she can hear, but she just can't talk. And one night, while after they wrapped shooting, she goes back to get like some stuff or whatever that she left at the on set, and she discovers some of the crew are using the set to make a snuff film, and they end up seeing her, and so it's basically like a cat and mouse game where it turns out that like these guys were hired by this like really powerful kind of Russian, sorry, like not even Russian. I think it was like a just like a mob. It played by Alec Guinness. He's like a mob guy played by Alec Guinness. The movie's awesome. It's like it's very tense. It's grimy. It's gritty. It is violent and disturbing at times, but there's also this like really strange humor in it where like it never lets itself get like too cumbersome as far as like how bleak it is. Like there's always some sort of comic relief that occurs, and so it's a very smart script. I was kind of surprised with this one. But I definitely recommend checking it out. Again, it's called Mute Witness.
Awesome. I've never heard of this movie.
This is one that like I always saw the cover for, but I never like saw the movie. So I finally did it.
Well, congrats.
Thank you.
I watched Practical Magic.
Nice.
Also on Hulu. Sandra Bullock, Nicole Kidman.
Yeah, I'm familiar with this.
I didn't know anything about this movie. My wife wanted to watch it, and I was kind of excited. You know, going through, you know, you do the opening credits. You got Sandra Bullock, Nicole Kidman. It's a '90s movie. Stockard Channing, Marco Martindale's in there, and I'm like, okay, this could be fun, right? But then the thing happened, like right at the end of that, where it's like directed by Griffin Dunn, and I'm just like, what? Griffin Dunn directed this?
Yep, the Griffin Dunn.
Like that, and I looked it up immediately because I was like, surely it's not the Griffin Dunn. Can't be. But no, it is 100%. And this movie is not in a good way, an extremely, extremely 90s movie. Like, it is just nothing but 90s needle drops that do not work. You know, it just seemed like they're trying to capitalize on what was, you know, relatively famous or whatever, you know, that people were into at the time. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, I mean, overall, it wasn't terrible, but man, it was kind of sappy, kind of, it was a bit much, bit too much.
Yeah, I think Ken pitched this one to me a few times, or maybe just once. For Saved by the 90s. I seem to remember talking about it, or maybe he just told me he saw it or something. But yeah, I don't know. I never saw this of it, but I'm not interested either.
It is kind of wild because they just straight up kill a dude.
Oh, nice.
And then they're like, oh well, fuck, we can't kill this dude. We got to bring him back to life. So they bring him back to life, and immediately he's trying to kill Nicole Kidman again. And they're like, well, fuck, we got to kill him again. So they kill him. And then Aiden Quinn shows up because he's like, "Hey, I'm looking for this criminal." And then he finds out what's going on, and he's just like, "Yeah, like let's just keep this between you and me, and I'll just act like I never saw all this stuff." And then he comes back, and they live happily ever after.
Oh, nice. Cool. Well, that's practical magic. I saw Dark Harvest. This is directed by David Slade. This is one we talked about,
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago when this was hitting VOD, and I said that didn't look great. I was wrong. This movie's awesome. I did not expect anything from this one, and it's kind of bonkers. Like it almost feels like a Stephen King in a way. It takes place in the early 60s. I think it's like 1962 or no, 63. I'm sorry. And it takes place in this like little town, this kind of, rural town where every year there's this this ritual that the whole town takes place there or participates in, where there's this basically like a monster that gets resurrected. His name's Sawtooth Jack.
No, Sawtooth
And
Jack.
all of the senior boys have to go out and kill him. And if they don't kill him, then like their town is plunged into like darkness, and their crops won't survive and stuff like that.
No boy.
So the main character here, his brother, his older brother, won the previous year. So he's looking to win this year and get out of the town, because if you win, they give you a bunch of money, they give you a car, and then you can like leave town. And so he's like sick of this like town. Everybody in this town's like just an asshole, and he wants to get out. So he sets out to kill Sawtooth Jack, but there's some dark secrets that are happening in this town. A lot of dark secrets that get uncovered. It's kind of a cross between Pumpkinhead and The Purge, where like all the kids wear like these crazy masks and stuff, and they're like running around with weapons. But of course, Sawtooth Jack, man, when this creature comes out, it fucks these kids up hardcore. I mean, it's like ripping tops of skulls off, just eviscerating these kids. I mean, it is nuts. The effects work is incredible. I love, like, the creature design is really good. The gore effects and stuff are very over the top, but like they didn't overuse CG or anything like that. So there's a lot of makeup effects and stuff, a lot of practical effects. It's awesome. Like, I was really surprised with this movie, and it's a Halloween movie. It takes place on Halloween, so it definitely has that vibe as well. So I definitely recommend checking out Dark Harvest. I was very surprised.
Wow. Who would have thought?
Not me.
Incredible. I was surprised by I Drink Your Blood from 1970.
Okay.
Now, I was not surprised that I enjoyed this movie. I went into it being like, man, a B movie from the 70s. Like, of course I'm going to love this shit. It was on Tubi. It's going to be so much fun. But I was actually surprised that, like, this is far more than what I was expecting. Cinematography is actually pretty fucking nice. It is a bit clunky, but it's 1970. Give me a break. It's far more like deranged and gory than I was expecting it to be. You know what I mean? With it being kind of early.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, they're not going to commit to that. They're not going to get away with showing some of this shit. But man, they cut some stuff off, and there's a decent amount of blood. Because the great thing about this is, okay, so the premise isn't that bad to start. You got satanic hippies, right? They break down. They're in a small town. There's only like 40 people left in this town, and these guys just decide to like just be fucking general assholes, right? And just be a pain in the ass to everybody that's still left in this town. Well, the one kid, he gets pissed off because they make his grandfather look like an idiot, look like a fool. So he's like, I'll show you fuckers, right? He kills a dog that has rabies, sucks up all that rabies blood, puts it in meat pies. These satanic hippies got to eat. So he's like, hey, we have a sale on meat pies, guys. You get like 6 for like 50 cents or some shit. So they're like, hell yeah. They eat all the meat pies. Now they have rabies. So it's satanic hippies that have rabies. And just all hell breaks loose. And it's fucking insane. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And the way that this movie ends is just icing on the cake. Because it ends perfectly. It's abrupt. It's ridiculous and over the top. And then it's just like, rabies is fucked up. Roll credits.
I wrote a review for this way back in the day when I was doing my Grindhouse Weekly segment on the website.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I got to go back and read that because this.
Oh well, no, I don't think you need to. It's probably horrible. I wrote it July of 2013.
I fucking loved this movie. I was so surprised. Like, I knew I was gonna have fun with it. You know what I mean? But I wasn't expecting, like, oh shit, this movie's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I remember liking this a lot, too. What's her name? Lynn Lowry was in it. I think this was like her first, I think this was her debut. I was a big fan of Lynn Lowry.
Plays the mute.
Cool. That's I Drink Your Blood. I saw the cameras, 13, 14, and 15 cameras. Saw all 3 of these bad boys. 15 cameras is the newest one that came out this last weekend. Interestingly, as we talked about, directed by Danny Madden, who was probably one of the first guests we had on this show like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
When we were talking to him about his film Euphonia.
Yep.
Well, he's been working pretty steadily, and now he's got 15 cameras. So I was familiar with this series, but I never saw any of them. So I decided to give them a look, and they're okay. They're all pretty. So I'd say the first one is probably the best one. The second one was pretty much the same as the first, only worse. So I can't really recommend the second one. And then the third one is maybe a little bit better than the second one. So it's not a series that I'm super like excited about or anything. Unfortunately, so like the bad guy, the main bad guy in this series is, they call him, I think he's called like the Slumlord or something. Super creepy. I mean, holy crap. He's like the creepiest dude ever. He's so gross and like just evil. And unfortunately the actor who played him, Neville Archambault, passed away before this movie. So it's a new actor playing the Slumlord. Excuse me, Gerald in the new one. And I don't know. I guess so if you're not familiar with this movie, it's basically this guy who owns a bunch of apartment buildings, and he hides tons of cameras in them, and he watches people be like a creep, basically. And in the first film, he ends up kidnapping the main character, and she's pregnant, and she has a baby while in captivity, and he raises the son as his own. And it's pretty dark, the first one. The second one gets into more like online streaming stuff, where like he's still got his like little cameras, but he starts to like stream the stuff online. And then the final one, 15 cameras, it's about this couple who buy one of his houses, and like they know about him, and she like the wife is like this true crime nut, and the guy ends up finding the husband ends up finding a secret room that like law enforcement, the police and stuff didn't know about, and a whole bunch more cameras, and then he starts to like watch the cameras, but then it turns out I don't need to get into it more. It's an okay series. I think it's very creepy just because like if you're someone who travels a lot, goes to like and stays in like Airbnbs and stuff, like you can't not think about this happening to you, you know?
Yeah.
So overall, I think it's like a little bit of a meh thing. Interestingly, Jim Cummings is in 13 cameras, and he has a little cameo in 15 cameras as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he plays like the best friend in 13 cameras, and then in 15 cameras, he's like being interviewed. So it's kind of I didn't expect to see him involved in this. Let's see what we have in theaters this week. Starting with, let's see. Okay, on the 27th, we have Inspector Sun, which it's like an animated one. Doesn't look very good to me, but whatever. Five Nights at Freddy's. I think that's also going to be. I feel like that's also going to be on Peacock or something. I think it's going to be playing on Peacock also.
And I see what you're saying now. I remember, what was the Nicolas Cage movie that we watched? It was like
Wally's. Yeah, it was like
Wally's Wonderland.
Yeah, same thing. Like Wally's Wonderland was clearly a Five Nights at Freddy's ripoff. They got to it first. They got to the idea first. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it'll be cool. Like I'll give it a shot. You know, I'll watch it. I'm not going to go to the theater, but yeah. I'll watch it at home just to see, and like I reserve the right to turn it off. You know, it's going to be on Peacock, so if it's really bad, I'll just turn that shit off.
Turn that shit off and get on with your life.
Yeah.
But it's just it's wild to me and brazen that like Wally's Wonderland is just like I'm just gonna steal that story.
Yeah. It's just
tweak
like
it just a little bit.
The smallest bit. If I remember correctly when we talked about it, I was like, I can't believe that they didn't get sued because it's so similar. But yeah, whatever. The Killer is also going to be coming out in limited release. That's the David Fincher one. That's going to be on Netflix on, I think it's like November 10th or something like that. I think it's coming out on your birthday.
Oh shit, birthday present.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that one. Yeah, that's pretty much it for theaters. VOD, we have, starting with the 24th, we're looking at My Friend Tommy.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I don't really know anything about that. We got Caddy Hack, which looks like a horror comedy.
Shut up.
Yeah, it looks... I mean, judging from the poster, it looks pretty rough. We got Saturn Bowling. Okay. And then on the 27th, we have Suitable Flesh. I'm interested in that one. We got Tripped Up. Boudica, Queen of War. And it looks like that's about it for VOD. As I mentioned, I think Five Nights at Freddy's is going to be on Peacock. And then AMC Plus, I think, is got the new Hell House LLC movie. Hell House LLC Origins, The Carmichael Manor.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sure that's going to be dropping on AMC Plus. And
boy.
And what do we have on Netflix? Netflix has The After coming out on the 25th. And then on the 27th, there's Sister Death. We got Pain Hustlers and Yellow Door, 90s Lo-Fi Film Club. That'll be on Netflix. I think that covers it for VOD.
Right.
So, there's a number of interesting sounding horror titles in there. I'll definitely be checking out Suitable Flesh. I remember, I think that screened it at Fantastic Fest, or maybe it was Fantasia or one of those. And I remember reading about it and thinking that it looked interesting. So that the new Exorcist movie comes out on VOD as well. So yeah, who knows? Maybe we'll talk about that one. No.
I'd rather not.
I mean, I'll probably watch it, but yeah,
I don't want to. I just don't want to.
I heard not great things, but
Yeah.
yeah. We'll see, I guess. Blu-ray this week. We've got The Others coming out in 4K. That's the one from 2001. I did not like that movie at all. Red Dragon from 2002. Cujo from 1983. Muppets Take Manhattan. Looks like the Toxic Avenger is coming out with a box set. Got all of the Toxic Avenger movies. 1 through 4.
No, that's it.
Yeah, there's
only 4.
Yeah, there's only 4 of them. The last one came out in 2000.
Yeah.
And then of course that's coming out because the new one that's coming out I think this year at some point. The teaser of that dropped, and I got to say I'm pretty excited. I am pretty excited for the new Toxic Avenger.
I'm sure you are.
I mean, Macon Blair, like the cast is pretty wild. Like Peter Dinklage and Elijah Wood. I can't remember who else is in it, but I remember some other kind of crazy names. It looks like it's gonna be pretty wild. Godzilla from 1998 is coming out. I've been meaning to rewatch that because I have a feeling that if I watch it now, I just bet that movie is just so ridiculous and over the top.
Oh yeah.
Let's see what else we have here. The Devil Doll from 1936.
The Devil Doll?
The Devil Doll, yeah.
The Devil Doll. Oh god, look that up. That's a Todd Browning movie.
Huh.
1936. Oh, I was wondering if that's on Criterion. Not on there.
We have Fascination coming out from 1979. Decision to Leave. We got Meg 2 The Trench.
Yep.
That's on HBO, or sorry, that's on Max. I haven't watched it. I don't plan on watching it. I actually didn't like the first Meg, and I heard that this one is like 10 times worse. So, speaking of Jason Statham, he has a movie coming out called The Beekeeper, and it's like an action movie, and he plays a beekeeper, and it's like a real movie. Yep.
Sure, why not? This
Lichen Colony from 2006, Dead Girl from 2008. Man, that movie. Have you seen Dead Girl?
No.
It's a very disturbing